Welcome to One Day in a Wake Up, a show about doing time, getting out, and where you are now. In prison slang, one day in a wake up means you're almost free. Just one more day before they walk you out the gate. So let's walk out together. One Day in a Wake Up on Colorado Radio for Justice.
All right, thank you for joining us at CRJ One Day in a Wake Up. I'm your humble host, Herbert Alexander, and I'm here with my mans. He's tall, dark, and handsome. All the ladies love him. All the ladies love a tall, dark dude. I don't know what light-skinned brothers do these days. I get it from all angles. Anyways, again, this is my man, Demone Smith. How you doing today, man?
I'm all right. Thank you for having me.
So, I kind of surprised you with this whole film thing.
Yes, you
Apologize.
Did. Yeah, you're a scoundrel. Yes, you did.
All right. So the basis of this show is it's called One Day in the Wake Up, and we're going to kind of focus on your last days of being in prison from there, and on, and maybe share your success, how you became successful as to staying out of the prison system.
Okay.
All right. So I guess the first question I want to ask you is, how long were you locked up for, bro?
I did 7.5.
7.5?
Yeah.
That's just flat?
Flat.
What was your total sentence?
17.
That's kind of hefty.
Yeah, so I had 6, 6, and a 5 consecutive.
How long was it before you knew you were going to get out? Did you get paroled or halfway house?
So I found out 2 weeks before. They told me I was going to the halfway house.
2 weeks before? So you had already applied. So you had already been eligible to apply.
It really happened quick. So I applied, and then maybe 2 weeks later, they said I got accepted.
That was fast.
2 weeks later, I was on the bus.
It took me 6 months.
Yeah, it was quick. I would have been cool. To be honest, I would have been all right if I had more time to prepare. Yeah.
So you weren't exactly expecting none of this?
No, I thought they were gonna. If I'm being honest, I thought that they were gonna push me back a little bit.
So you were just going on about your day.
Yeah.
And it was like, Demone Smith, report to the office.
Yeah, they called me to the case manager. I was sitting in there. There was somebody else in there, another case manager, and they were smiling. So I didn't know what to expect, but then they told me I got accepted to the halfway house. And then they told me where I was going, because I didn't know any of that. They put you in for a few different counties or whatever. So I'm like, what's going on, where I'm going? They told me. I was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, when? They was like, the next bus you're going to be on.
Okay. So you came to Denver. But before I get into that night,
spooky.
That night that you were about to get out, because you apparently didn't know that you were going to get accepted.
I did.
In your mind, you were like, okay, they're gonna deny me on this first round, and then I'll put it in again, and then 6 months later, I'll be able to go home type of deal. Mm-hmm. So you did you have any positiveness that you were going to get accepted?
I was hopeful. I was hopeful that I was going to get accepted, but this is a while ago. This is almost 10 years ago. But at the time, I thought that I was going to get denied because a lot of people were getting denied at the time, And so I thought that I might have got denied. But I was just going around my regular day. You got to do your time while you're in there. You can't do outside time. You got to do your time.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I was different. I wanted to go.
But I was scared to death. Yeah. I was scared because recidivism is so high.
Yeah. So that night, when you're packing your stuff up and everything, what was racing through your mind?
Oh, I was terrified. I was nervous.
Did you have any kind of preparedness in your mind that you prepared for what you were going to do if this time did come?
Well, I had a lot of dreams about what I would do if I got the opportunity. If I didn't do the bulk of my sentence, I had a lot of dreams about that. I think I was preparing to leave, but I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't realize what it would take to be successful on this side of the fence. So that first 2 weeks, I mean, I don't want to. I'm afraid I might get into an altercation with somebody. I'm afraid about, I might say something to the wrong person, or somebody might say something. So I was very nervous.
It'll get wiped away.
Yeah, and then they snatch it away from me. So I was very, very nervous that 2 weeks going up to the release.
So when you get to the halfway house, what's the first thing you do? Do you make a phone call as soon as you get processed and everything?
Oh man, I couldn't sleep. The first day I got off it was early in the morning. They came and picked us up from, what is that, in Canyon City?
Cell House 5.
Cell House 5, yeah. So I left Cell House 5, and I was smiling the whole time. I hadn't been outside during the day traveling, it's been a long time for me. But I got there. They did my intake. I was nervous, but I was in such good, hopeful spirits. I knew I was gonna make it happen,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your first meal?
Oh, some trash. It was trash.
Was it?
Yeah, what they had there,
Oh, yeah.
I was indigent when I got there, I was indigent. So I pulled up. My little brother came to see me the next day, in person. Good to see him.
Yeah.
He brought me a bunch of clothes. Well, no, the first time he came to see me, he just brought me like some lotion and stuff like that. But the first meal I think was like that halfway house chicken and green. It was terrible. When I look back on it, but I was happy to have
I know
it.
those nights. Yeah, it's better than what you was eating.
Yeah, I was happy to have it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so as time goes on, you got to find a job.
Yeah.
You got to make it now. You got to start making money. What was your first action that you took?
Oh man, the first thing. So in the halfway house, they have a board of jobs. I applied to every single board on the job. A lot of people had some stuff they weren't trying to do or they wouldn't do or whatever. I didn't have none of that. I did. As soon as I got there, they had a whole board. I mean, dishwashing, stocking, sweeping, whatever they had. I applied to every single thing on the board. And I was sitting in front of that board all day by the phone just making calls.
How long did it take for you to get a job?
I got a job the first week out. I had 3 jobs the first week out. So I got out.
You wasn't playing around.
No, So I got out. As soon as they let me leave, I went and, did a whole bunch of interviews. They said they liked the way I spoke. So, I got a good amount of job offers I had a job my first week out,
Yeah, that's dope, bro.
Yeah, I didn't play no games. I wasn't taking I didn't make no excuses. I would do anything, I applied at Garbanzo, wherever, 6'2". I mean, I didn't care where it was.
I feel you. You remember where you took me my first day?
Yeah.
To go get a job? We went straight to the Golden Corral.
Yeah, and they hired you. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no issue. I think that's some of the issue that you run into why the recidivism rate is high, because I don't think they understand like the feats it takes to transition your life. You're making very quick money on the street, as you know. You're doing whatever you got to do on that side of the fence, but you don't want to do whatever you got to do on this side of the fence.
Yeah.
So I'm doing whatever I got to do. I don't have nothing going. I don't have I don't know. You don't have nothing.
I don't have nothing.
Yeah, I didn't have anything. I didn't have any expectation. I was happy to be free. In the penitentiary, you work for 60 cents, $1. $1.50 is a good job in the penitentiary.
So is your motivation solely based on like, this is what I was doing when I was in there. I was handling my business. It was easy in there. Why can't I do it out here when I have more access to the world? Was it mainly that?
That was a big part of it. And a lot of people, they put a lot of work into me. You know what I'm saying? My mom, my grandmother, my brothers, like they put a lot of stock into making sure that I was safe, and I felt safe about my transition. So I didn't want to let anybody down, and I didn't want to go back behind the wall. I got out. They had touchscreens on the phone and all this beautiful stuff that I had been watching on TV happening, and I'm like, damn, I wish I could have been a part of that. And then I got the opportunity. I'm like, oh, I'm not finna squander this, because I can go back anytime. The halfway house, it's not set up for you to succeed like that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't feel that way when I was there. No, they think it's a joke.
Those dudes get there and it's a game, and they're not really understanding what's going on. That your next move is about to be your worst move.
For sure.
Because you're about to get stuck in this system. Now this sentence that you have is about to become elongated, and most of the time it's going to get longer than that.
For sure, yeah.
So
I definitely feel that. At the halfway house, there was a lot of those direct sentences.
Yeah.
I feel like if I had to
they didn't know how to
prefer,
act.
yeah, I wish they would just put those guys in their own halfway house. You know, don't put them in there with we coming out of the penitentiary and they're coming from the street.
It's different.
I'm like, man, I wish they could be in their own area.
I still have because for the time that I did, just being around people who didn't function and move like me
very frustrating.
is frustrating. Like, bro, I had a problem going into Costco. Like
Costco is, and I love Costco now, but at the time, man, I did not appreciate the amount of people that because they don't have the same experience where there's a consequence for the lack of manners. Oh, they don't have that. No,
it's
even
crazy.
on the bus, I'd take the bus line when I first got out, and they were very close to. I wasn't used to that kind of thing, you know, where somebody's standing right beside you and talking loud, and it's a whole thing. I didn't realize how, you know. I don't want to say institutionalized, but I didn't realize the impact that the penitentiary had with just normal everyday life. You know, people being close and talking loud is a normal thing, but in the joint, you know, they will give you that space. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely feel the Costco is a good example. Walmart was like that for me. I'm like, oh man, like this is. I don't even understand, and I don't know if it's us being hypersensitive to. I don't know, courticises, but because that might just be normal, like, you know.
Yeah, no,
that might be a normal thing.
I've had to deal with it. I had to understand, just sometimes being on social media, seeing posts, like, you know, they got these inspirational posts or things. So, like, I think one guy said something such as, these people aren't trying to be disrespectful to you. They're just caught up in their own little world that they got going on.
That's a good point.
And they're not paying attention to what's going outside.
It's not intentional.
It's not intentional. So I had to just keep, you know, trying to maintain that self train of thought that these people aren't doing this to disrespect me.
Very
they just
true.
Don't know better. I'm not going to say not know better, but they're just handling business the way they handle
they in their own
business.
world. I'm like, I get it, because we all in each other's world in the penitentiary. Like, you are in my world, you know what I'm saying? And I'm in theirs, and they're like, yo, don't be too close to me. I think you learn that quick. And I think if you want to be successful to make it through that system, you got to learn that quick. You got to learn to mind your own business. You know, you got to learn to respect people's space. Excuse me will stop you from getting, you know, pulled apart in the penitentiary, saying pardon me, acknowledging that there was some wrongdoing, even if it was slight. That will get you. That'll take it a long way. You know.
Definitely. So I know my man's here for a very long time.
Yeah.
When they were young, you know. I can remember.
Uh-oh.
No. I can remember being in the county jail with you.
Oh, yeah.
Remember we were in the county jail?
Yeah.
I remember one time, so this is funny. This is funny because the way it worked out. So I ended up going to the same pod. We ended up being in 2D2 or something like that.
Yeah.
I got there that morning and it was about to be breakfast, or that next morning it was about to be breakfast. And I got my tray, and I'm like, oh, I hate coming to a new pod because now I gotta, you know, figure out seating arrangements and everything like that. So I got my tray and I'm walking around, I see where you're at, and there was this one dude, so it's like four seats on the table.
Yeah.
You're over there, there's another guy there, and this guy over here, my man Demone tells him, he says, hey, you gotta get up off this seat.
It's an old, I'm 20.
You got to get up off this seat. My homeboy from my hood is sitting over here.
We grew up like that, you know what I'm saying?
And I just kindly walked over to the seat. But what I always did like about you, bro, is how smart you were.
Oh, man, I appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying? I've always, you know, you have a real good, you know, common sense thinking, just, you know, next level as well. So I want to get your take on, hypothetically, you've seen somebody getting out of prison. You just, you know, seen this young brother getting out of prison, and he doesn't look like he has a support backing him. Let's just, you know, we know what this looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What advice would you give him? What would you tell him to help him make it to where you're at?
Oh man. Well, first let me say, you need a support base to be successful when you get out the penitentiary. Even if it's small, slight, it could be the community, it could be whatever, but you need something. You can't. I'm not gonna say you can't do it on your own, but it is very difficult to do it with help.
And the thing, a lot of the reason why we started CRJ, Colorado Radio for Justice, is to help shift that, because they have to understand that there's a lot of people that don't have support.
There are a lot of people.
There's a lot of people that need, that need help to make it through life, coming from, having a felony on your record.
True.
So a lot of doors get shut in your face
right away.
There's a lot of shunning that happens. You know what I'm saying? That's just, and it makes it hard. So anything that you have to say that can help him not to give up, and let him know that it's gonna be hard?
That's the main thing. It's going to be difficult, but you just got to go harder than that, because that's a challenge. And if you're okay with that level of challenge, then you can make it through that. It's going to be difficult. I would say a focus that I hear when people come out the penitentiary that I know will get you in trouble is going after women. And this is not against women. This is just that the focus sometimes is to is to pursue the woman, to something that you've been deprived, for however long you was in the penitentiary. So the first idea is I want to go get a woman. And I think that is, if I had to say the top of the...
Think with your big head.
Yeah, do not
think
let
with your big head.
The focus shift off you. Like, you need to put the focus onto you. It's hard enough without adding another human. Put the focus on you first. I would say that.
Do you think social media would play a part for a young man like that?
Oh, silliness, yeah. Because you're looking at a lifestyle that's not real, a fabricated lifestyle, while you were sitting there with one pair of shoes and two pair of drawers and no job, and then you're looking at the internet and it's saying that this guy has everything if you just follow these 5 steps. But nothing is that simple. Nothing is that simple. So I think that, of course, if you're a young person, and if you came from selling dope or doing drugs or robberies and doing things like that, the money comes much quicker than the money that you're about to get doing it the right way. So I think that...
Yeah, but you pay heavy toll for that.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Like, be the best that you can be. Focus on yourself at first. Find some things that you like to do. I think the number one thing, or probably the number 2, is you need to find a hobby. I don't think we grow up with hobbies like that anymore.
No, definitely.
We don't grow up with things to entertain you, things you like to do that don't necessarily get money.
The hobby is swiping.
That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Spending money you don't have. That's just my opinion about it. But yeah, I would say find a hobby. That was probably my number one thing. I would say definitely get into the library. Definitely get into the library. Learn about things that you want to do. Stay focused. Stay focused. Avoid the women. I know it's tough to tell you that. Avoid them women, man. I know that is. I know. But I will tell you this. The most people I see go back to the penitentiary is behind a woman. It may not be that woman's fault, but you want to go spend time with her.
Behind wanting to. It's not the woman in general.
No.
It's wanting to be with that woman.
Yeah, that pursuit, that entanglement.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one.
And I've seen it before.
Stay focused, brother.
They'll throw it away for that.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're talking about, throwing away is your freedom. Don't do it, bro. Stay focused. I think that the joint does teach you that discipline. If you are doing it right, you are in the gym every day, working out every day, probably. You're reading every day.
I think a lot of times dudes know that more than likely they're coming back. And not in a bad sense of that.
I had that conversation.
You know what I'm saying? I think they know when they're getting their paperwork done and everything, they know. And I'm not trying to, diss anybody for going back, because I know I'm that guy. But I think that you're not mentally ready to make it.
That's spooky. Yeah.
You know that you're not mentally ready to make it, and you're about to go out here.
That's a spooky feeling.
And start and try to start something new, but you're not ready. Because I know from experience, the numbers just, the numbers aren't going to lie. Like a lot of people go back. I was one of the dudes who went back multiple times to prison. That last time was when they sat my ass down. So.
I don't know what that. I think that it's a. I don't know. It's like a little bit of fight or flight because it is spooky. Because I was saying, like when I was gonna get out, I'm like, man, I wish I would have had 6 months to prepare to get out mentally. I'm going from, bargaining ramen soups and doing all this, all this cooking bars and, all this. You like, from that, everything is stampy in the soup.
Worrying about the now. You were worrying about the now and not worrying about the next 2 weeks that were about to come, that were about to shift your whole existence.
Not at all. I mean, I prepared in my mind to say like, okay, I need to, like I'm decent with math, so I would do a lot of math. I would read a lot. I would study a lot. The code that I wrote when I was locked up, I didn't have a computer to test it, so I would just write lines of code down on a book, and I would like create my own thing from that. So in my mind, I was like, if I get out in the next 10 years, 12 years, and I'll be ready when I do get out. And then they said, well, actually, you're gonna get out in 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, I would, at the time, I was like, man, I wish I could stay and prepare so I don't come back at the time. Because I'm like, man, there's still a part of me that I need you to say, excuse me, when you walk by me. So there's still that part of me that says like,
that has that same type of
exactly
at it. Like I was like, it's like you have this, like say dudes who are like street dudes and everything. They're different dudes. They don't indulge in the same type of lifestyle they used to, but they still have mannerisms
for sure
of that nature.
Exactly, yeah. So that's still in there, especially if you, like, when I was coming up, my crew, we wasn't to be played with, So it carried over to when I was locked up. Like, I'm not, like, don't play with me like that. And I had to step away from like, what kind of person, is it really that serious? Because in the joint, I seen people get cut up for ramen soups or Little Debbie snacks. That's like $1.50 out here. But in the penitentiary, a Little Debbie snack will be the end of you. That'll be,
and that's the difference between, that's where you have to start thinking. I had to start thinking about that.
Sheesh.
I should be like, why would I get into an altercation about a honey bun that if I was on the streets, I'd step on that honey bun and go buy a new one?
Yeah. I mean,
it's not that big of a deal.
A honey bun, you know how many altercations I've seen behind honey bun, 2 for 3s? Like,
and that's
everything.
That's the imprint on your mental that's left on you when you leave that place.
It's terrible, really. Yeah. Because I'm thinking about that too, but I hear you like, damn, it's not really that serious. And I feel like that is the part that if you can escape that mentality, like the severity of that, if you could just escape that for a year and then like, okay, I made it a year, and then another year goes by and I'm like, okay, then those small things become less severe in your life. You're like, man, it's not really that serious. He did step on my sneakers, and I do want to harm him, but I don't even care. You know what I'm saying? Like I can
because it's not worth the 30 seconds, the 1 minute to 30 seconds to 1 minute that it takes to throw your life away.
No.
Like that's how fast these things happen. People lose their lives to, you know what I'm saying?
Being reactionary.
Yeah, and then
reacting like, oh well, if I was in the joint, like if you was in the joint. And then when they could do anything to you in the joint?
Yeah.
No.
But the thing is too, like you don't think about a lot of stuff until when
it's quiet.
When it's quiet and all of a sudden you have time to think about it, then years go by and like you said, your mom gets older, family gets older, then you start to see like, hey, me hurting that person for stepping on my shoes was not worth.
Didn't even know his name. He don't even remember
happened.
me. Yeah. And you looking at your family in pictures grow up.
Yeah.
I can't have that,
It's just people don't think sometimes. And maybe they just don't have the mental capacity to think about it because of, maybe past traumas in their lives. Whether, how they came up.
Well, for that young boy, it's going to be difficult, man.
Yeah.
It will be difficult, but you can make it. There's a lot of opportunity to make it.
The thing about it is, advice, a lot of times advice comes from experience.
For sure.
And you laying out the experience of what you've seen and maybe might have experienced yourself of dudes chasing women and tricking their whole program off because they want to go be with somebody else instead of waiting the next day to go on a pass to go see them. You know, it becomes that severe that they're just ready to trick it off. Is really good advice. Don't let that.
Yeah, I would. That's my
women too. Women
thing.
too. Don't women at the halfway house. Don't mean you.
It's crazy how you could just you could wait and get it together. It's okay to like my situation. I feel like was very difficult. Like the first, I would say, 5 years was it was. I'm like, how did I even make it through that? Like going to work, going to the gym, going to school, studying, and doing it all again every day, 12 hours. Just trying to make that next move. I mean, that was very difficult to do, but I'm happy that it did. I'm like, well, if I live 5 more years, I want to be here in 5 more years. I don't want to live in a lazy way or in a less than productive way. I'm like, well, I was good at this part of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me just try it. Like, what harm is it? I already did the time in a respectable manner. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me try that same. Let me put the same energy towards.
Same energy.
Yeah, why not? You know what I'm saying?
Same. I was following the rules in there. Let me try to follow the rules out here and see where this takes me.
And it worked out. If I'm being honest, it worked. It was difficult because they don't want to give you a chance. But you got to seize them opportunities. You see an opportunity. I'm not too good to work at McDonald's. I wasn't too good because I was picking up shit in the penitentiary for $1 a day. So I'm like, well, okay. They want to pay me $11 at McDonald's. Shit, I'll do that. What y'all want me to do? Or garbanzo beans or even any place. Stocking shelves. I didn't care where it was. And I'm like, well, let me work another job too. And then also let me go to school. They're like, well, when are you going to sleep?
Sleep when you die.
When I'm passed in the ground. Because I slept a lot in the penitentiary depressed. Yeah. Sitting in there, toes sticking out the blanket. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I slept a lot there, So I'm like, well, I could sleep. Yeah, I am tired, but I got to work. For what I did in the past, I have to work a lot harder. I accepted that, that I have to work harder now for a choice that I made, It doesn't seem fair in some people's mind, but that's what it is. Like, I made a choice. Now the world sees me this way. I got to work twice as hard to change that perspective.
Man, no, I really appreciate you coming through, stopping with us here. One day in a wake up. Again, I'm your host, Herbert Alexander, Herb Lex. This is my man's. Some call him Big Demone. Some call him New York City. I call him the homie, Demone Smith. Appreciate it, man.
Not Big Demone.
To who it may concern, I'm at the point of no return. It took a couple round trips in order for me to learn, and I ain't never going back. Allow me to be exact. You let pain run its course till you're forced to adapt in the worst habitat. Speaking matter of fact, zigzagging through this maze with my brain still intact. Progress is the phase, the rest is just cap. What lurks after that? Fresh air don't care when you spent light years in a prison, shifting gears with the friction and the tears. Addictions in the rear, model for your peers. That's the sum of all fears. This is not a hot take. One day in a wake till a steak on my plate. Kiss from my mate, life reanimate. Exist to be great. Let your thoughts elevate. Bend but don't break, cause your past and your future can no longer correlate.
One Day in a Wake Up is a production of Colorado Radio for Justice. Check out CRJ at radioforjustice.org and across social media at Radio for Justice. This episode of One Day in a Wake Up was produced by me, Seth Reddy, alongside Taylor Hanson and Herbert Alexander. Executive producers for this show are Ryan Conero, Herbert Alexander, Taylor Hanson, and myself, Seth Reddy. Our theme music is by Herbert Alexander. This is One Day and a Wake Up.